Watch! The Earth is growing conspiracy. Debunked? What do you mean debunked? It's true. The Earth is growing. Trust me, bro. I know this. Trust me.
How's it going, Google debunkers? I have covered a lot of conspiracies. If it's out there and it's bad, chances are I've covered it at some point. Or so I thought. It seems like just when I think I've heard the most ridiculous conspiracy possible, another thing comes along. The other day, my animator sent me a video. And it is, without any exaggeration, one of the most—
His animator? What a flex. Bro just has an animator in his pocket. God damn it. Okay, Milo, your animator?
baffling, poorly supported conspiracy theories I have ever heard of in my entire life. I think I've had like a low-grade migraine since I first watched this video, which was like a week and a half ago. So today, I'm gonna subject all of you to it as well.
Please.
Oh, what's that? Yeah, you're welcome.
I
So
need
what we're
to
gonna do is
see
we're
it.
gonna watch this whole video through first.
I need to know about why the Earth is growing.
Just let him make all of his points. I'll pop in, make some comments along the way, and after that, I'll go through just a few of the immense holes this theory has. Now, I know I haven't said what the theory
Holes like the one in the middle of the Earth because it's donut shaped?
actually is called, though you probably could read the title of this video, because I think the best thing we could do to get you acquainted with it is just let you watch the beginning for yourself.
We come to the Earth, which, well, grew to get here, the way it is now. Here is our world, our planet Earth, floating in space. We will be going backward in time, imperfectly, but done in a very disciplined manner. Please notice there is no subduction, no rotation of tectonic plates, no twisting, no form-fitting, no altering shapes or sizes. It would be impossible for these continental plates to fit together perfectly without this being true, and yet the upper tectonic plates fit together.
Wait, I'm convinced. So that's why it's Pangea, because it was all Earth, and then it just grew. And then it filled with water, and the parts that grew. Wait, it all makes sense now.
Perfectly on a much smaller planet.
It grew. Why are you laughing? It grew. That's where the water comes from.
Oh, man. I've watched that part.
Thank you for the $7
Hate it when I get 8 minutes of ads.
I mean, technically, there's only 3 minutes every hour and like a minute and a half every half an hour, but it sure does feel like 8 minutes, doesn't it?
Part of this
Thank you for
video
the
so
sub,
many
man.
times now that you think I'd be used to it, but every time I watch it, I'm like dumbfounded. I literally can't even think of a joke. It's just, it just is a joke. So this video is called Neil Adams, Science 01, The Earth is Growing.
Whoa.
As you probably gathered from that intro, it's a theory that plate tectonics don't exist. So what's their explanation for why the planet looks the way it does and why the continents are the way they are? Well, the Earth
It grew.
Like imagine if you had a partly inflated balloon and you painted it with acrylic paint, let it dry, and then blew it up the rest of the way. And all the paint would kind of like crack around it. Now, before we get too deep into this video,
Yeah, you're only showing me more on it. That's how it works.
I think I need to give a tiny bit of background. This is actually a really, really old theory. And believe it or not, it actually started as a scientific theory. Plate tectonics as we know it today wasn't actually discovered until the mid-1960s, which I find absolutely fucking hilarious. Like if a young version of my dad in 1965 had looked at a globe and been like, hey, those kind of look like they fit together, people would have just been like, no, Johnny, that's totally wrong. Here, have another cigarette. That's a little bit hyperbole because even before they discovered plate tectonics, scientists were aware that continents moved somehow. The world is littered with evidence.
Maybe they thought they floated on the water. Continents are boats, you know?
Of tectonic activity, from mountain ranges to where animals are dispersed to, you know, different parent rock being found in two different continents separated by an ocean. So scientists knew something had happened.
Yeah, because the Earth grew. So it used to be together, and then the Earth grew and it got separated. That's why.
Just didn't exactly know what or how. Sort of the grandfather of plate tectonics was continental drift. And continental drift is an old theory. It goes back to like 1912. It was discovered by a scientist named Alfred Wegener who sort of proposed that, I don't know, the continents sort of float around a little bit, bumping into each other
Oh,
and stuff.
yeah, they float.
Which isn't actually that far off from how
Oh, look, wait, the plate. I never actually saw the plate. Yeah, the Eurasian plate, and then it's separated from the African plate. You know? Wait, there's a separate plate there? Wait, my big ass head is covering. There's two in Africa. That's crazy. The South America one, yeah, that makes sense on the shape. Yeah.
plate tectonics work. He didn't really have the mechanism down, but at least they were on the right track. But the expanding Earth theory is even older than that. It was first pioneered in 1889 by a man named...
so the expanding Earth theory is like OG?
Roberto Mantovani, a real fucking paisan. That was more than 20 years before continental drift was discovered, so we gotta give Roberto a little bit of slack here. At the time,
yeah, Roberto was trying to think of things before they were discovered. The people who believe that nowadays are...
It was actually a pretty decent theory and had a lot of people on board with it. Like a lot of early science, it did a good job of taking into account all of the pieces they had then, but they didn't have nearly as many pieces as we do now. But once continental drift theory showed up, everyone was like, wow, this whole expanding Earth thing is actually kind of stupid. So that's where this theory actually comes from. A scientist in 1889 who didn't...
I mean, the expanding Earth would really only work if continents were actually boats. You know? If continents were boats, that would make sense. And then the Earth would have to be made of water, and everything is water. And then there's these boats of continent. That would be the only way. Romunka Memo W! Hello, stay on. Welcome. We're watching a video about the Earth growing.
Know what continental drift was, which makes it even more confusing why anyone's talking about it now. Now, as we get into this video, I also need to make very clear, there are literally thousands of things wrong with this theory. Thousands of pieces.
What do you mean thousands? It can't be that many.
Of evidence to disprove it. I promise you, as we go through this, you will be able to find some piece of evidence from your own niche field that disproves everything.
Wait! There's evidence in live 2D rigging and VTubing that disproves the Earth being growing?
About expanding Earth. I'm coming at this from sort of an environmental science and geology standpoint, so that's going to be my expertise that I'll apply. So as we go through this, if you think of anything that I don't mention, please mention it in the comments, because I mean when I say we could have like a full catalog of hundreds of things that are wrong with this theory. Okay.
I know Europe flows closer and closer to America every year. No! No! My belly is growing from the beer. Romanian canon event. Romanian male canon event.
Now you may have a lot of questions, like how and why and what? So with the yapping out of the way, the best way to answer those questions is to just keep watching this goddamn video.
Yes, there's been some erosion, landslides, blah, blah, but overall, this activity...
God, I love it when my scientific guy says blah, blah. You know, gotta love it.
...is insignificant.
You know a theory's good when they hit you with the blah, blah.
Yeah.
Overall...
Yeah, you know it's scientific when I go blah, blah, blah. You don't care about it, but maybe he's a vampire. Maybe he's a vampire and we're just being mean. Pre-watch. What can I say?
All these things are insignificant. You call this insignificant? Or this?
Blah,
or this?
blah, blah.
Or fucking this? And this is actually a really clever tactic. See, pretty much every geologic feature on the entire planet can in some way be traced back to plate tectonics. And every single one of those theories is, in its own right, a piece of evidence against this entire theory. So how does the presenter refute that literal mountain of evidence? Well, he just lumps it all together, trivializes it, and says that it's insignificant. This theory can literally only exist by ignoring these features, because the moment you acknowledge them and try...
yeah, that's pretty much every conspiracy theory. I saw a video the other day on Twitter of a lady that bought a chicken. It was like, look at this chicken's little arms. There's no way this chicken looks like this. It's because it had feathers. So then the T-Rex was a dragon. She took it from chickens have little arms to the T-Rex was a dragon. Oh man.
To explain them, you have to concede the fact that plate tectonics are what has shaped the planet. Like, the Earth slowly expanding will not build mountains. Mountains are created by continents bumping into each other. I'm getting ahead of myself, but like, Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, also, another little thing that you're probably thinking to yourself, sitting there thinking about things, is that this theory is hinged on breaking the first law of thermodynamics. You know, matter cannot be created or destroyed. That's like a natural law as far as we know.
Drew. Where's the Earth coming from? Like, where's the more Earth coming from? How is it growing? Where's it coming from?
How is the Earth getting bigger? Maybe he'll explain it. He doesn't explain it.
There is a kind of conspiracy of silence among certain scientists. They know, but are not telling you, that the upper tectonic plates of Earth also join in the Pacific.
Whoa.
We are
Whoa.
like 90
They
seconds into
know, but they're not telling you. They're vague posting about the tectonic plates. Expression theory needs absurdly high compression, super ionic matter core that decompresses as it cools in order to break thermodynamics.
this video. Triple
crazy.
shot buzzwords. There is a conspiracy of silence among certain scientists. They know, but are not telling you this thing that's absolutely bullshit. So another thing you're probably wondering is, who the fuck is this guy? You seem kind of like your just classic conspiracy nutcase. Immediately off the bat, lumping together a bunch of...
Off the bat? Excuse you? Oh, wait, I don't even have my bat model on. Aw, man. Aw, see, this doesn't work. This doesn't work for me. I don't even have my bat model on. I can't do my jokes.
really good evidence and trivializing it, and then practically in the same breath saying that all the scientists who've come up with
Milo, are you okay?
have really good evidence and trivializing it, and then practically in the same breath saying that all the scientists who've come up with actual evidence are all in cahoots to keep you in the dark. So who exactly is Neil Adams? What sort of credentials or criteria does he have to be able to speak so confidently and also vilify so many people who are professionals in the field? Is he a rogue scientist, a journalist? No. He's a comic book artist.
Ooh.
Sorry. He was a comic book artist.
Oh.
Neil passed away in April of 2022. And now because this is only within a couple years of this
Wait, what
event,
then? How
I
did
feel
he make the video?
the need to make it clear here that this is not meant to be, you know, dancing on Neil's grave. I know that all of you are firmly aware of that, but I know that if I didn't address it in this video, there's a chance that some people would think that I'm being irreverent. So I just want to address that up front. So that being said, I'm going to try...
I mean, only because you died doesn't mean you didn't say stuff that's just wrong and stupid. Like, when I die, I don't want you guys to be like, oh my god, everything she ever said on stream was completely correct. Even though that is true, regardless of me being dead, it just is true. So you would be doing that, but not because I'm dead, but because it's true.
To him as a person within this video, but that's not going to give any credibility to his theory, and frankly, this theory has 2 million views, and whether he's alive or not, it is still out there, and it is still incorrect.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing this out. It's a lot like a hard-boiled egg. Speaking of which, please consider the following. How to make perfect hard-boiled eggs. Cook time 12... What?
So again, this is not meant to be any disrespect to Neil personally or to his family or meant to be disrespectful. This is just looking at the theory that he has put forward here. Okay, with that little disclaimer out of the way, comic book artist. So Neil worked for DC and Marvel. He worked on the Batman comics, he worked on X-Men, he worked on Green Lantern. This dude had a fucking resume. Now, I'm not saying that being a comic book artist disqualifies you from having any scientific discussion, but I am saying that it may explain why he seems to be completely out of touch with reality. So I'd like to remind you that the guy creating this theory and saying that all the scientists are out to get you is a fiction writer. His job is making up the most wild shit you can imagine. And now I talk about this a lot on this channel, but I'm someone who is firmly against the idea of having academia be an ivory tower. I really think that it's high time academia moved past needing to have a PhD in order to even have a discussion in a field. That being said, my problem with qualifications comes from when people who do not have any qualifications try and speak over those that do. And on the flip side, I think more academics should be open to bringing in the layman to be able to help impart their wisdom on them and help guide them and make the space feel open. But this is not what that is. This and many other conspiracy videos are done by people who are not qualified and are claiming to know more than scientists. And that's where the distinction is. Let's keep going.
You are asked to believe that the continents swim or drift about willy-nilly, bumping and crashing as if they were on a greased skillet. This is not true.
Yes, the fuck it is.
But then, in your theory, they're even more bumping and crashing and swinging around. Like, in the real world, they float on lava. In your world, they float on water, and I feel like one of them floats more.
You are asked to believe. I really need that conspiracy, like, buzzword bingo board. Someone make a thread of that in the comments and just add any buzzwords that you can think of to it, and I'll compile it into something. So ironically, even though Neil is using a smug-ass voice here, what he said in that smug-ass voice is actually a decent explanation of plate tectonics. No, it's...
Would you be able to, technically, if you had an indestructible submarine, would you be able to go through an ocean, between the tectonic plates into the lava? Would you be able to? Like, is there a gap in there? You know, like, is there a gap? Pressure, but it's an indestructible submarine. It's an indestructible... Guys, it's called a thought experiment. You're supposed to imagine something that's not real. I'm just asking hypothetically to see if there's a gap. There's no gap, then how does he move? How do they knock? They're rubbing against each other. So it doesn't even... You would probably die before that in my... Brother! It's a thought experiment! Indestructible submarine! That's why there are earthquakes. Yeah, no, the thing is, like, I thought it was like a small gap. Like, humans are not big. If there's a human-sized gap, that still means they could knock into each other to make an earthquake. Right? You know. Look at the cross section of the earth. The crust is above rock that behaves like a liquid. Yeah. The rock you would go through would eventually turn into lava plasma. Yeah, so you'd have to dig, wouldn't you? I'm just asking, like, if you went to perfectly to a point between the tectonic plates and you had an indestructible submarine that never gets hot, never gets destructed, it is indestructible, and it keeps you perfectly safe inside. It has a pressure monitor, it has infinite oxygen, and you just cannot die in this indestructible submarine. Like, can you just, like, drive down and then get in a lava sea? You would find yourself in a fire sea. Yeah, so that's why I want to ask about the lava sea. Flat food and water. Infinite flat food and water. At a certain point, yes, you would have to drill. That's what I was asking. In theory, would you have to drill or would you just be able to drive down? Like between the plates. If you got perfectly in the spot in the ocean between the tectonic plates. Because, like, are they snug? Are they snug together? Like, are they, like, fused together a little bit from knocking into each other and then they just, like... I suppose they would be. Yeah. So I guess you would have to have an indestructible drill attached to your indestructible submarine.
Not great. It's a little bit closer to continental drift than plate tectonics, but...
Sorry, I forgot I was watching a video. I kind of got into a just chatting stream mindset.
The idea of the continents sliding on the grease skillet is, in essence, how it works. The Earth has two kinds of crust. There's continental crust and oceanic crust. Oceanic crust is thinner and replenished from the Earth's mantle, and it slides underneath the much thicker continental crust. And a majority of the mass of the Earth...
So I guess, what is that? It's like...
as you well know, is like a giant water balloon full of liquid hot magma that comes out to create crust in one place and then melts the crust as it subducts down in other places. And it's on top of this giant liquid ball that all of the plates are sliding around, bumping into each other and slipping down into the mantle again. So yet again, he's given a great piece of evidence against his theory, but it doesn't matter because he said it in a silly voice.
The simple truth is apparently too upsetting to too many apple carts.
Oh.
Why would it be upsetting? You see, that's the thing I don't get. Why would the government hide from you that the Earth is growing? Why? Why would scientists hide this from you? Why? Like, what's the benefit of hiding this? Like, if you're the guy that found this out, wouldn't you want to come out of it and be like, yeah, look, science.
Fuck off. I swear to God, conspiracy theorists are like some kind of fucking masochists. Like, when they pull shit like that, it is for the sole purpose of getting a rise out of people. Like, they know that they're gonna get fucking slammed, right? I don't know. Maybe it gets them off or something. Who am I to judge? You'll also be noticing around this point that he hasn't actually given any evidence at all yet. He kind of just said a theory and then made a big stink about they don't want you to believe it. Which for
This is basic geography and science class here. That's what they want you to think.
those of you that need to hear it, is not evidence for anything. So around this point, he better start showing some fucking evidence. And he sort of does. So I want you to listen to this next part and see if you can spot the problem.
Millions of years, the bottom of Africa was the South Pole. South America's tail goes under and wraps around the bottom of Africa. Then incredibly, it joins coast with Antarctica. 65 million years ago,
It's kind of satisfying to watch.
and more, these continents were joined, and marsupials like the duckbill platypus roamed from
Imagine, we had a perfectly earthy Earth.
Australia, Antarctica, and across southern
That's Frenchia. No, it's the Earth being shrunk. Where's water? There's no water because the Earth shrunk. Okay?
South America and up into Africa.
Whew. Wow, okay, there's a lot to unpack there. Let me just break this stuff down first. So firstly, Antarctica was subtropical. About 200 million years ago, what is now Antarctica was much closer to the equator, so it would have had a much warmer climate. But this map he's showing is just flat out wrong. In that 200 million years ago span, Antarctica would have been nestled between East Africa, Madagascar, India, and Australia. And as recently as 80 million years ago, Antarctica also supported a lush tropical ecosystem.
Ooh.
It was during the Cretaceous period, so the climate...
That's why they find diseases in the ice, don't they? They keep like finding the ice and its diseases inside. And then they drink the still water. Shouldn't drink still water, those who know.
It was a lot warmer. But here's the error that you may have spotted. Almost everything that he says that's actually true is just evidence of plate tectonics. Antarctica being subtropical does not make any goddamn sense with this theory because according to his own map, it looks like it's still on the bottom of the planet. Whereas when it was part of Pangaea and later Gondwana, it was much farther north, and so it was closer to the equator. And then he also says this: Africa was the South Pole, South America wrapped around Africa, and South America joins with Antarctica, which is sort of true, not true, and barely true.
Dude. Kind of reminds me of the time flat earthers brought a tool to measure the curve of the earth to prove it was flat, and they found out it wasn't flat. True.
Last time that Antarctica was connected to any other land was 180 million years ago. Again, it was Africa, Australia, Madagascar, and India that were all connected. And this was one large continent called Gondwana. Once again, we have geologic evidence of this. There's parent material rock in all of these different land masses that all line up with one another, meaning that at some point they were connected. His big evidence that is the same for many conspiracy theorists is it looks like. But the hilarious thing is, have a look at Gondwana and how all the continents fit together. It looks even better. In his own map, he shows things like South America like stretching to get longer to get underneath Africa, and like the continents sort of like morph.
Don't touch South America! Don't you ever touch it!
Shape a little bit, which I wouldn't have a problem with because that is something that can happen, but it's something that he says later in the video as being impossible.
No twisting, no form fitting, no altering shapes or sizes. It would be impossible. Impossible for these continental plates to fit together perfectly without this being true, and yet the upper
it's
tectonic
impossible.
plates fit together perfectly.
So not only is there geologic evidence debunking this entire map, but this map doesn't even make sense within his own theory. So he also says that the joining of these continents is what allowed marsupials to cross them, which is actually true. But that's because of Gondwana, not because of whatever the fuck this is.
So
And
wait,
that highlights
Gondwana is a different Pangaea? But then wait, which one's true? Is it Pangaea or is it Gondwana?
thing I wanted you to keep an eye out for earlier is the big problem with this entire part is that everything he brings up that's real
I never
is
heard of
evidence for
Gondwana
Pangaea.
before.
Like there are orogenies
Hi, Steven. Do you know about
or
Gondwana?
mountain ranges that go
Pangaea is split into Gondwana and Laurasia. Oh, he does have majestic hair and a perfectly straight hairline.
from Antarctica into Australia and from like India into Africa and shit like that. Which is also interesting because again, I'd like to remind you, he hasn't explained how fucking mountains are built.
The platypus. Dinosaurs
Mountains are
roamed
just there.
all over this world on the upper tectonic plate because
So
there
did the dinosaurs have no water in his theory? Because it was just a bowl of earth.
were no oceans, just shallow seas.
But then where
There
did the
were
water
no
come
oceans.
from?
What
Rain?
the fuck? How? Oh my god. Wow. I'm glad this guy became a comic.
How do you think like the prehistoric life with all the bugs developed? Because the whole point was that everything was rainforest. So that's why there were the big bugs.
book artist and not a scientist. Okay, so most importantly, oceans did exist. We have had oceans for a very long time. We have evidence to suggest that within the first 150 million years of the Earth existing was when the first oceans formed. Scientists have found zircon crystals. A crystal that's
Ooh.
super resistant.
Wait, what do you mean Kryptonian crystal? Kryptonite is not real, is it? What? What do you mean?
To
It is? No. Kryptonite is not real, is it? It is? Wait, since when? There's a starman waiting in the sky. He likes to There's a starman. Na 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 na. Wait, that's crazy. Named after the comics. Wait, who came first? The Superman kryptonite or the kryptonite that's real? Which one came first? Dude, that's crazy. Superman. Oh, you see, that makes it cooler to me. The fact that the Superman comic named a real thing. I think that's cool.
Heat and is formed in a wet environment. Scientists can date these crystals, and because they are so resistant to heat, they have been able to survive being recycled
Zircon.
into other rock. The zircon crystals that scientists found in Australia date back 4.4 billion years, and it's believed that they originate from one of the oldest oceans on the planet, 4.4 billion years ago. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that? Was that actual evidence for
dinosaurs had
something?
water, right?
Oh, no, sorry, I'm gonna
Gulp?
just pull something out of my ass. Also, he says this weird thing about how there was only shallow seas and no oceans. The reason we hear about shallow seas so much in history is because that's where we find a lot of our fossils. Many shallow seas will form over like continental crust that's been pushed down, like the Western Interior Seaway in North America. And so then when that continent rebounds and comes back up, it brings with it all of the fossils from the shallow sea. Whereas deep ocean is normally over oceanic crust, which is not only miles deep under the fucking ocean, but is actively a conveyor belt that is recycling itself into the mantle of the earth. So the reason we don't have many fossils from the deep ocean is because it's a little bit fucking hard to do a dig there. The oldest
Yeah, because they're falling in the gap, you know? They're falling in the gap.
oceanic crust that we know of on the planet is a little more than 200 million years old. That doesn't mean there was no oceans before it. It just means that the crust has sank back into the mantle and has been replenished. Again,
Yeah, so it's like...
conveyor belt.
Here today, Antarctica is frozen over, and Australia and its surrounding islands are the remaining home of marsupials.
Again, that is evidence of Gondwana. Placental mammals did a really good job of pretty much taking over the whole world, but the fact that Australia was one of the last holdouts of marsupials is actually a great example of how plate tectonics affects not only the way that the Earth is formed, but also the biology of the planet. Australia was able to break away from
That's
the rest of the
cool.
continents before placental mammals managed to invade
Placental?
and outcompete all
Hi, Ivan!
of the marsupials. And so
There's a lot of sea fossils on the southeast coast of the UK.
its population evolved in a vacuum for millions of years. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but if you're interested in mammalian history or think it's something that you'd be interested in, you should really read The Rise and Reign of Mammals by Steve Brusette. It is incredible. I could not recommend it more, and I couldn't put it down until it was done. Steve, love your work, dude.
Do you see how broadly the Pacific is
I like how he doesn't have any more visuals. It's just this one video of the Earth shrinking and then growing back up.
opening compared to the Atlantic? This is exactly why the knee-jerk Pangea theory exists. The Pacific's
Knee-jerk? He called it what? Whoa!
spread is too difficult to
Chill,
easily
man.
visualize because it's so big.
I want a t-shirt that says that. Damn it, I should have done merch for this video.
It's so difficult to visualize because it's so big.
What, are you kidding me? Of course I made a shirt
Whoa! The knee-jerk Pangea theory. What?
out of it. Knee-jerk Pangea theory? Come on, guys.
No, I thought it was gonna be the part about it's impossible to visualize because it's so big.
Shit's hilarious. They might be wondering, Milo, why aren't you wearing one right now? Well, I am on vacation, thank you very much. So for now, you're gonna have to look at this guy wearing it instead of me. If you're wondering what it would look like if I was wearing this shirt, imagine it similar to this, but hotter. This bad boy will only be available until October 1st. So if you want to broadcast to the world that you are part of the conspiracy of silence, the link is in the description. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a vacation to be on. Okay, whoa. What the fuck was he talking about? Oh yeah, the spread of the Pacific.
The knee-jerk Pangea theory.
He says it's too difficult to easily visualize because of how big it is. To that, I would say, is it that, or is it too hard to easily visualize because
I can't get the knee-jerk Pangea theory shirt anymore. I know it's gone forever, guys.
it didn't happen? Every time he shows a map of the planet expanding, he conveniently happens to like gloss over the Pacific at the most interesting times, kind of showing how everything really fits together. He definitely touches on it, but I think it's really funny because like everyone knows that in the Atlantic, the continents were
Pangea. And then it's Laurasia and Gondwana. And then you see them, and this is how they are now.
joined. You can fucking see that on a
But then, question to the Pangea believers: why was all the Earth only on one side? Huh? Like, why was it only all in the middle? Well, what's up with that? Am I meant to believe that it was just, like, in the middle?
Map. It's like puzzle pieces. But the thing you need to back up the most to make this theory make even a lick of fucking sense is how it worked in the
Atlantis was on the other side. Oh.
Pacific, and he just doesn't do it.
The Atlantic spread is so obvious that a child would recognize it.
I completely agree with you, Neil. I mean, hell, even he recognized it.
Check this map out.
Continental drift. Yeah, I get why they drifted. I don't understand why they weren't drifted apart to begin with. Why were they all in one place to begin with?
Thanks, Neil. I will check that map out.
Lo and behold, no part of the undersea was found to be much older than 70 million years old.
Dude tells me to check the fucking map out, and then immediately just starts talking over me while I'm trying to check the fucking map out. Okay, so that's not true. Now, I give a little bit of a slack for this because this video came out a little while ago. When did this video come out? The fuck is this thing called? The knee-jerk Pangea theory? Okay, so to give the guy a little bit of slack, this video did come out March 2nd, 2007. I didn't even know that YouTube fucking existed. Actually, I had to have because I remember watching
What
YouTube.
the heck? Wait, I was like 6.
I was 7. So assuming that this video was made even a little bit before YouTube, maybe he didn't have the information at his disposal. That being said, I'm gonna correct it anyway. The oldest oceanic crust that we know of is around 200 million years old. I mentioned this earlier, so
Yeah,
this
it's
is
the
wrong.
one because
And
like
also,
it probably was older, but it fell into the lava.
even if it was right, that would just mean that the oceanic crust has been recycled, and so that's why it's young. So you're not gonna find oceanic crust that's the same age as the planet. Hope that helps, thanks.
Where did they get ancient fish fossils from? From the land, like in Mississippi and Utah and France and China.
And what's that supposed to mean?
What?
For the
No
theory?
shit. Wait, hold on. This doesn't make... This is something that he has to explain now.
Yeah,
This makes sense with plate tectonics. The theory this isn't compatible with is the Earth
The
expanding.
Earth
If there's no
expanding.
such thing as subduction, and there's no such thing as, like, the continents morphing, why the fuck are there fish fossils on the land? Firstly, and as I said earlier, the reason
There's actually supercontinental cycles. They merge together and then drift apart again. Pangea was just the latest one. Wait. So there was another one before where it was spread but different and then came together? What?
there's not many deep sea fossils is because the oceanic crust is
freaking old
constantly
is Earth?
recycling, and a lot of ocean life likes to exist in shallow seas. There's sunlight. It can support a more diverse ecosystem. So because that's a more productive environment, and because it frequently forms very close or on top of continental crust, there'll be a lot more fossils remaining. I can't believe he brought that up. That literally is, it doesn't make sense with his theory. Why would there be fish fossils on the land if the Earth is
Yeah.
just growing and nothing fucking changes?
Exactly. Wait, that's so stupid. Actually, that's actually so dumb because in his theory, it was all land, dude. 4.5 billion years. God damn it! And how long ago was Pangea? How long ago was Pangea? Valbara, Ur, Kernoland, Columbia, Rodinia, Panotia, Pangea. Jesus. Most of the other ones were devoid of life. Oh, so it was just like... Damn. 335 million. Holy shit. So there's like 3.8 billion years with no Pangea? 3.8 billion years of nothing. What the frick? Why didn't they tell us about this?
I'm like baffled. He doesn't explain any more about this. Am I missing something? Like, this is literally just a mark against him. I don't know
There
why.
were other continents, yeah, but apparently there was no life on them until Pangea. So nobody talks about them.
Brought this up.
Most of the undersea wasn't there 70 or 80 million years ago.
Wait.
70 or 80 million? What do you mean? That's not that... I mean, it's long ago, sure. It's not that long ago. What do you mean 7 million years ago there was no water?
What? No. The undersea was definitely there 70 or 80 million years ago. Just there's 70 or 80 million years worth of plate that has been grown and recycled. Man, this is a grown man. How'd you think this? This isn't like a representation of how he thought a long time ago. Again, Neil passed away in 2022, but 4 years ago, 2 years before his passing, he left a comment, a pinned comment on this video that is, it looks it's not very well organized, and it is another very poor defense of this theory. So I know that he believed this pretty much through his entire life. I'll get into this comment in a little bit because it's just fucking crazy, but for now, let's actually finish this video.
10 million years back.
7 million years ago, the dinosaurs were still around. Yeah. That was dinosaur time.
These are the ages of the seafloor as measured by science, and they're generally true. Earth grew. 20 million. I'm not making this information up.
No, Neil, I don't think you are making this information up. I just think you're
The
really
best
terrible
way
at
to tell
interpreting
people,
it.
guys, chat. I have a boyfriend. I'm not making this information up. It's true. He's 6'5", a billionaire, and he wears a mask all the time.
All right, let's watch Neil's time lapse.
I'm not making this up though. Like, I'm not making this up. Okay? I'm not making this up.
Well, you'll see.
Not making this information up.
The upper plate, the continents, are as old as 2 billion years old.
Yep, that's because the continents are big and they float and the oceanic crust goes underneath them, and so the continental crust is not recycled quite as frequently as the oceanic crust.
Yeah, because it's on the Earth, so it wouldn't get there. Is the thing, because it's in the middle. It's in the continental crust is in the middle of the plate, so it wouldn't get like inside because it's the middle. It's like the middle of the cake versus the edges. If you're eating from the edges, the middle goes last.
Any more questions?
Why does the scientific community desperately cling to and promote the idea that the ocean bottom is sliding under the continents and into a magma which is twice as dense as solid granite? A totally unsupportable and
Mind-destructible submarine could solo that.
scientifically unsound idea? They have to. Or else they'd have to observe and admit that the Earth is growing.
Be nice
But
to
why
him.
would they not want to admit it?
He's dead.
Why
Be
would it
nice
need to be a
him. He's
secret?
dead. You have to be nice. You have to be nice because he's dead. Okay. Neil. So, other than the snide, asinine fucking bullshit, this just shows that he just doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't know how else to say it. I don't want to sound like a fucking pretentious asshole, but like I don't know how else to put it. The fucking oceanic crust is subducting down, and yeah, the mantle's really thick, but do you have any idea what the force behind the fucking crust is? It has the force of an entire tectonic plate behind it. This is like a force that is on such a scale that our human minds are completely incapable of wrapping our heads around it.
It's a
This
big
and many
thing.
other conspiracies boil down to
Almost as big as the force that your mom creates when she walks into the room.
I just don't get it, and so I'm going to explain it in a way that is simple enough that my human mind can easily grasp and digest it, which is not the way the world fucking works.
Hi,
We are a
Raptor.
bunch of goddamn primates who got lucky enough to be able to interpret the world around us. We were not made to do this. We are running human software on fucking animal hardware. I totally get that concepts like this are really hard to grasp because they're so big. That's how I feel about fucking space. And anytime someone who knows shit about it talks to me about it, I'm just like, I just can't wrap my fucking
Space
head
is
around
freaky,
it because
man.
I'm a goddamn monkey. So we know for a fact that the oceanic crust subducts. It's one of the things that causes earthquakes. It's what causes volcanoes. You ever wonder why there's a bunch of volcanoes all along the Pacific coast? You learned it in your fucking high school science class.
Yup, I remember.
It's the goddamn ring of fire, and that's there because the Pacific plate is subducting under a bunch of other plates. All the volcanoes from fucking Alaska to California to the goddamn Andes
Chile.
Mountains.
And that's why Chile is so tall, because it's at the very edge of the plate. You can kind of see it behind my big ass head. Chile is edging the plate, so that's why it's so tall.
Are all because of this subduction zone. The oceanic crust slips into the mantle with layers upon layers of sand and sediment and dead.
So I see, so that's why I wouldn't be able to drive my submarine. Because it's getting smooshed. So my submarine would be here, my indestructible submarine would be here, but there's no gap, so I wouldn't be able to slip in. I would have to dig, you're right.
Algae, and as it dips farther and farther down, all of that melts and vaporizes and it produces gas, and all of that gas has to go
Oh, I see. So it goes through the... Oh, it goes through the... Oh!
somewhere. So a little ways in from where that subduction zone is happening, because the plate comes down and dips, it bubbles back up to the surface and creates volcanoes. That is something that we have extensive evidence for, and is something that cannot be explained with this theory.
It's important to remember that science and the universe should and must be easier to understand as we go back in the universe's evolution.
What? Are you fucking insane? The universe should be easier to understand as we go back? Let's just talk archaeology for a sec. I can tell you with the utmost confidence that the archaeological record does anything except get more clear as we go farther back. The farther back you go, the shadier and murkier it fucking gets. You have less information, less stuff has survived.
Yeah, because it's like more far back, obviously. Like, we know a lot more about the last century than the last 1,000 years ago, were we?
We're trying to interpret the lives of people who lived even fucking longer ago with even less evidence. The environmental sciences are another great example. We have a whole bunch of evidence for all kinds of things that have happened throughout Earth's history. But take,
like,
for example...
bro, people from like 100 years from now will know so much about our age because of like all the technology. You know, like, if you think about, like, World War I, and they barely just got the cameras, you know, still didn't have video recordings, they had newspapers, I suppose, you know? Even that feels rudimentary compared to the fucking iPhone, bro. Dude, they're about to watch history through the lens of a, like, actual iPhone camera recording.
Example, an unconformity, a place where there's a missing spot in the geologic record. So you may
Why are you question marking? Why are you question marking? You guys are just joining in on a thought. You don't even know what you're question marking against. You just want to feel included. I'm pretty sure we have more evidence, information about the 2000s than we have of the entire era counting years. Exactly, because they didn't have the camera. They didn't have, like, bro, like, yeah, there's newspapers, but, like, newspapers, like, the titles are traumatized. It doesn't really show you what the people think about it. You know, now, low-key, you can find anything about a current day, about each year.
They have rock that's like 200 million years old, and then on top of that immediately is another rock that's 50 million years old. There were probably other kinds of rock that happened through there, but then there was either a desert, or there was an ocean, or something happened.
Welcome!
That eroded that rock away before new rock could be built on top. That's a whole piece of the puzzle that's missing. And the farther back you go, the less evidence there is. I mentioned astronomy and like space science earlier, and I think that's really the best example. Can you imagine going to like an astronomer or a physicist and saying this bullshit to them? Hey, why can't you guys tell us about like the creation of the universe and shit like that? Like, shouldn't it just be easier as it goes back? Hey, if it doesn't get easier as it goes back, I think you guys...
Yeah, why don't we know about the Big Bang, bro? Come on, that's like as far back as you can go, man. We should know everything that happened there because it gets easier as you go back. Guys, of course, yes, of course.
The real pseudoscientists. Just saying, mic drop.
This is an undersea map.
Oh, thanks, Neil. That absolutely is an undersea map.
Let me point out that the newer undersea near the rifts
The Earth, if it was a raisin,
is smoother and more regular than the older land further away from the rifts.
Okay, so he's showing the Pacific Plate here. I think it's the largest oceanic plate in the world. It's 40 million square miles. And what exactly is this
we know
point here?
how it
Hold on.
looks like? That's insane.
The newer undersea
I thought there was a thing that like the ocean is only 10% explored or something.
near the rifts is smoother and more regular than the older land further away from the rifts.
Yeah, no shit. The lumpier land farther away from the rifts, it's been longer since it was formed, and so it's degraded more and been more subject to plate tectonics. Next point.
Here in the Atlantic, the rift goes right up the middle.
Yeah, sure does. Can't argue with that.
Half of the Earth's growth has happened since the extinction of dinosaurs. This means that the Earth is accelerating.
Wait, so how does he explain that? What? So how old does he think the Earth is? If he thinks it's only started growing since the dinosaurs. It's 4 billion years old. Dinosaurs was like, what, 70 million ago? How does he explain that the Earth stayed the same size and then 7 million years ago suddenly it was like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna grow.
In its growth. In the last 65 million years, Earth nearly doubled in size. The last redoubling took 600 million years.
But why would he do that? Why did he decide only then to start
Wow,
growing?
that makes you think. Fucking source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
How the fuck do you spend a whole video coming after scientists and making me have to give you evidence, and then you say shit like this with no evidence? That's the thing that really frustrated me about going through this video and trying to script it, is the entire thing is a red herring fallacy. Like, don't get me wrong, this conspiracy is stupid, but I should not be the one having to give evidence for the widely accepted theory of plate tectonics. He should be the one giving evidence for whatever the fuck this is. But conspiracy theorists do this all the time. They kind of like, you know, toss the grenade in the room and then make you have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Rather than giving supporting
It takes 2 seconds to make up a lie. It takes 2 days to disprove that lie.
evidence for their point, they spend more
Hi, Westbound TV, welcome!
time attacking the opposing viewpoint. So I have to waste my breath trying to justify why plate tectonics exist instead of what this should be, of him actually giving good evidence for this theory. Well, I guess I see why he's not giving any good evidence, because it's not a good theory and there's no evidence for it. Like, how do you just say that in 65 million years the Earth doubled in size and the next one will take this amount of time? Like, how the fuck do you know this? Where's the evidence for that?
He was there. He was there when
It's
it was
just,
happened.
like, do you hear yourself?
And now the land masses will come together perfectly. There is no subduction, no raising and lowering of land masses. There can't be.
There can't be. There can't be subduction, and there can't be
Huh?
raising and lowering of land masses. So where the fuck do mountains and volcanoes come from? How does he doesn't explain this? He doesn't explain
just
why
can't
the Earth
be.
isn't just if the Earth was really just expanding and it was once just a big ball of land, all of that land would be fucking flat.
Local raising and
Wait. So does that mean that flat Earth is true? Wait. Chat, flat Earth is real. Confirmed by Milo. Wait.
lowering, yes, but not on a massive basis. It
Finally.
can't happen.
He
Oh,
gave
don't
in.
fucking backpedal like that. Local raising and lowering, yes. So you admit that it can happen, even though you just said it can't, but you don't explain the process of how that local raising and lowering is supposed to happen with your theory. Also, I don't really know what he means by local raising and lowering. Because, like, a mountain
Means like when a guy wakes up in the morning and he's happy to go about his day.
range
Better
isn't
luck
exactly
next
local.
time,
Like, does he
smart
think
boy.
each mountain just kind of comes up on his own and it's just like a coincidence that they all happen to form a big chain where two plates are pushing together? I really don't understand that. That's fucking bizarre.
For examination, I'm going to run a few vignettes of each area of Earth that you have a right
Wait, so then would flat Earth have no mountains?
to be curious about.
Oh, okay. Maybe he's actually going to show us the Pacific this time.
The North Pole.
Oh, nope, I don't give a shit about that.
There was a piece in the recent National Geo. It shows that the trees in Asia and North America were exactly the same trees. Well, this
Yeah, that's more tectonic theory.
is why.
Proof.
Oh my god. No, it isn't. The land bridge that connected the northern hemisphere, the Eurasian plate and North American plate have been connected fairly recently, and so there was a mixing of biota across it.
Oh, I see why they. Oh, it's like a. Tuk, 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 tuk. I see. I get it now. I get it why it Pangeas and then it unpangeas. It's like the plates go from one side, boop, and then they join together. Like they boop, and then from the contact, they boop, boop. Imagine this is the Earth in here, in this corner. It's the Earth. No, imagine the Epilogos. No, imagine Milo's head is the Earth. Okay, so this is Pangea. It breaks, and all the pieces go in separate directions until at the back of Milo's head, boop, they go together again, and that's Pangea 2.0. And then because they bloop, then they break again, and it's like a Newton's cradle. It's like a Newton's cradle with continents. They just tick, 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 tick. You know, they Newton cradle. They literally Newton cradle the continents. That's why they keep coming together and then breaking apart.
That's why Africa, Eurasia, and North America had very, very similar animals up until humans made them go extinct. You ever wonder why there was elephants in Africa and mastodons and mammoths in North America?
Not really.
That's because they were connected by a land bridge, albeit way fucking far away, but they could still share populations because they were physically connected to each other. Which is why there was no mammoths in Australia, because it had been cut off such a long time ago that it was just marsupials there. So once again, this is not evidence of this theory. This is evidence of plate tectonics.
The South Pole.
I also don't give a shit about the South Pole. Show me the Pacific.
Tectonic spreading has created
Okay, he's not going to show us the Pacific. Great.
2/3 of the Earth's surface in the last 200 million years.
How the fuck do you know? How do you know that? You can't just say shit,
just
man. You gotta
knows.
give, like, at least a little bit of evidence. I mean, make something up. You're making the rest up. You may as well make up some fucking evidence while you're at it.
And therefore, the same must be true on all planets,
No, it really
including
mustn't.
Mars.
What? The same must be true
We're going to Mars?
on Mars.
So the planet's just like 70 years ago, 70 million years, suddenly decide that it must grow?
Okay. I didn't really look into the Mars part all that much because, again, I shouldn't have to be the one bringing out fucking receipts to debunk this shit. But I do happen to know that there are no plate tectonics on Mars, at least to the best of my knowledge. There's volcanic activity, but there is no plate tectonics. And so that's why there's no, like, major mountain ranges, just, like, individual
That's interesting to know that I have no plate.
mountains that were formed by volcanic activity. Why this is,
So
I'm not
Mars
gonna
is flat.
speculate. That's for someone else to explain, but they're different. So this point doesn't make
That's also why it doesn't have waters.
any sense.
Spreads on
Maybe Mars just hasn't grown yet. Wait. Nah, you know, I'm back in the growing theory. Mars is a planet that hasn't started growing yet. So that's why it's just uniform Earth with no water and no life. Because once it starts growing, it's going to divide into continents. The space where it breaks is going to fill up with water. And then life is going to happen.
Mars just as on Earth. But there is, just as clearly, no subduction on Mars.
Well, there's no subduction on Mars because it would only be continental crust. There's no oceans. Oceanic crust is being cooled by water, and so
no,
there's
Mars
like
is just not ready to start growing yet.
kind of two different places crust can be. It's created a whole different system than on fucking Mars. Are you kidding me? You can't see that? You're a goddamn comic book artist. Mars is like part of your fucking catalog, and you can't tell that there's a pretty big difference between Earth and Mars?
It can't be both ways. You either have spreading and subduction, or you have only spreading, and you must have
Oh,
spreading.
Well,
you must have spring. If I remember correctly from astronomy class, the reason Mars doesn't have moving places because of its smaller size and having a stable lid. Due to the small size. So what you're saying is if Mars were to start, let's say, growing, it would have plates. So what you're saying is if Mars were to hypothetically start growing, then the plates would happen.
clearly can have it both ways because every planet is fucking different. It's not like a rule of thumb that applies to every planet. You think there's fucking plate tectonics on Pluto?
Or you can continue to ignore the facts and say, as the ancients said, that the Earth is unique and singular in the universe, and that we are the center, and the universe rotates around the Earth.
No.
A terrible end to a terrible video. Really hammering it home with another tool in the
The
conspiracy
core is
theorist
dead.
tool.
Wait, Mars's core is dead? Why aren't people talking about this? What? That's sad. Why is it dead?
Box, the straw man fallacy. You can admit the truth or you can ignore the facts and think like the primitives did that we're the center of the universe and that the world revolves around us. No, I don't fucking think that, Neil. Nobody thinks that, but it's a great way of making people more resistant to disagreeing with you because you're putting words in their mouth. But
It's almost dead. Wait, so what happens when it dies? What happens when Mars dies? Really, seriously, what happens?
Also, I'll backpedal a tiny bit and agree with one of the things you said. The Earth is pretty fucking unique. Now, I'm not saying it's the only one in the universe, but from our sample size of the solar system we have, we're the only one that kind of works like this. And my point there is that every single one of the planets is unique. They all work differently. I'm not a fucking astronomer, so I'm not going to go into it. I'll leave that to someone who was way more knowledge in that field in the comments. But ironically, by trying to punch down on the Earth being unique, he's arguing for the complete opposite, which is like a homogeneous nature to the entire solar system, which we just know doesn't fucking exist. Okay, let's catch our breaths for a second. That was the expanding Earth theory video. Sorry, the Earth is growing.
So when are we gonna find aliens? Because there's no way Earth is the only planet that developed to have life on it. When are we finding the fucking aliens? Chat? When? Aliens, when? Because there's just no way.
Exclamation point. Now that we have all the context we need, we can finally start moving into all of the holes in this fucking theory. But first, I want to go over this pinned comment because it is fucking crazy.
Oh.
Have you come across a pseudoscience or conspiracy
so
video and
white.
thought, wow, Milo should really cover this?
Put it
well,
away.
now there's a chance that I might. As of this video, I now have a link where you can submit all the terrible conspiracy videos you've
Me when a white boy sends me a dick pic.
find for me to review. Who knows? I just might make a full video about them. Link to that is in the description.
Dude, oh, that's horrifying.
Yo, yo, yo! Continuity error! I actually have no idea if I was I wearing this outfit last time I was filming? I completely forget. Either way, it's the outfit I'm wearing now, and y'all can deal with it. Put that on there. Look a little bit professional. Oh yeah, we were talking about this incredibly long pinned comment. Apparently at some point about 4 years ago, someone must have actually made a well thought out response to Neil's video, asking a lot of the same questions that I have been throughout the course of this video.
Mars used to be a lot more like Earth with oxygen, atmosphere, and oceans. But the core cooled and its magnetic field disappeared, allowing for its atmosphere and oceans to be broken down by the solar wind. Damn, why didn't it just grow?
About how this is even supposed to be possible, and Neil actually did us the honor of responding to it in a massive Bible-length comment that is now pinned at the top of this video. For any of you that have boomer grandparents or boomer parents like myself, you will know the very telltale signs of a boomer writing something. You know, a lot of ellipses, weird use of capitalization, hard returns, I love you, Dad, but this is absolutely a read on you. Well, you'll recognize just about all the hallmarks of boomer text language in Neil's response here. So before we get into everything that's wrong with this entire theory, let's read through this comment, see if we can clear anything up. So it looks like what he's done is he's put the argument that the other person made in lowercase and then his response in uppercase. It opens with, Dave,
Damn, why is he
why do I see
yelling?
my response to your rude note in caps? Why do I find limestone that only forms in shallow seas, with extinct ocean fossils in it at 3,000 meters above sea level? That's a great question, Dave. I wonder what Neil
That's
has
too fancy of an educated question for people like me or Neil to understand.
to say about this. Ah, yes, the first hurdle, thank you. As you realize, these are not oceanic fossils, but shallow sea fossils. Excellent. Oh, and then that's it. He doesn't actually explain any of it. As you talked about earlier, a lot of shallow seas have formed over continental crust, which is why it then rebounds back up, and those fossils are kind of put to the surface again. Deep sea fossils are a lot harder to preserve for a myriad of reasons, but I don't know if Neil really realized the fact that he has to explain this in his theory. He's kind of acting like it's a big gotcha that, like, see, they're shallow sea fossils, not deep sea fossils. But his is the theory that somehow doesn't take into account the fact that a shallow sea can rebound on a tectonic plate. So I have no idea what the
Wait, sorry, I gotta pause. I got an essay to read in the chat. Unless we discover some new branch of physics with our current understanding, it would take literally years for us to reach the closest galaxies to us, which are ones we know for a fact don't have alien life. So it's unlikely we'll ever find alien life unless we find a new branch of science that allows for faster than light travel. Damn. Wait, so why do the galaxies next to us not have life? What the freak? Dude.
the mechanism is by which a shallow sea would even have fossils pushed to the surface in this expanding Earth model, and he doesn't even bother to explain it. So this is not a gotcha in the slightest. And for those of you wondering why we have oceanic fossils at 3,000 meters above sea level, it is exactly because of that. Because we have plate tectonics, things that, you know, land that was once underwater can be rebounded back up. It can be pushed and pulled and manipulated to a position that it wasn't always at. Something which is explained through plate tectonics, not whatever the fuck this is. Dave apparently then went on on to ask, why do these mountains have the same layers at angles that piggyback each other, stacking on themselves? Neil's response is, and so here is the question. 1, the Earth is growing. 2, wait, that was all you have for point 1? That's not a point. That does not prove anything. Why do the mountains have layers?
He's losing me. He's losing me. He's
angles that piggyback on each other. Well, the Earth is growing.
He just
not even
re-put the main point of his
an answer
video.
to the question. Okay, let's see what number 2 is. 200 million years ago.
He was still vague there. The closest star system to us would take almost 10,000 years to get to. What? Wait, how far away are they?
The Earth was a tad bigger than the planet Mars, explaining everything, including the massive size of dinosaurs and other life forms, as well as the fact that there is not 1 square foot of deep oceanic basaltic older than 200 million years old, while continental plate is billions of years old. Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
So he thinks that the oceanic plate is new?
I don't know how that explains the size of dinosaurs. He doesn't walk me through that. He has no evidence for why the planet was a slightly larger than Mars at the time. And then we've already gone over why we don't have a lot of oceanic crust that is much older than that, because it's constantly recycling itself, where the continental crust is sort of floating on top of it. So did you want to actually answer the question, Neil? The question was, why do the same mountains have layers at angles that piggyback on each other? His explanation is, the Earth is growing. It was once a little bit bigger than Mars. This is why dinosaurs are so big.
And is actually making me lose my brain.
There's no oceanic crust older than 200 million years. So none of that is actually an answer to this question. I don't really know what that was trying to do. Okay, but there is a third point. He goes to point 3. So observing this growing Earth and remembering that 200 million years ago there were no mountains on Earth at all, how did we get our limestone granite mountains? It's a rather easy answer. As the Earth grows exponentially faster as time goes by, the many miles thick, 30-mile thick granitic rock, the outer crust cracked into pieces, continents, and spread apart as the cracks filled in lower. The spreading cracks had run out of granite and now filled with basalt. However, the surface of the
basalt like in Minecraft.
Continental plates had to recurve to a flatter plane on a larger globe over time, being 30 miles thick. This recurving to a flatter plane resulted in the upper few miles of the continental plate to buckle and fold into mountain ranges, driving these shallow seas upward and upward to become today's mountain ranges. What?
I'm out of my depth, and I don't mean
oceanic. The surface of the continents had to recurve to a flatter plane. Okay, I see what he's saying. So he thinks that the way that the mountain ranges formed was because if the continent was...
You know, no, low-key, I gotta give him props. Bro, he's uneducatedly educated enough to even come up with that. My dumbass wouldn't even know like the actual facts to debunk, to twist in order to write that. Low key, bro, to his credit, probably actually did read a lot of real tectonic science and shit. He just read it and was like, nah.
Once like that on a smaller planet, as it warped out like this, it would have pushed together in the middle. Okay, at least there's an attempt for an explanation here. It's not a good one, but it's there. No, mountains are not the results of continents crashing into each other. If you thought so ever, you would have to find continents that crashed into North and South America to make the Rockies and Andes.
No, but it's not continents, it's tectonic plates. And the Andes are right next to a tectonic plate.
That's not how that worked. So here Neil is either uninformed as to how mountains are built or is intentionally misrepresenting it to try and make it seem like it's more likely the Earth expanded. So continents crashing into each other is obviously a primary way that mountains are made. That's how the Himalayas were raised up, from the Indian subcontinent smashing into Asia. But the Rockies and the Andes are a little bit different. The Rocky Mountains were created during the Laramide orogeny, and that wasn't as much from two pieces of continental crust colliding with each other as much as it was the long-term repercussion of an oceanic plate sliding underneath the North American continental plate. So as the oceanic plate slipped beneath North America, it like crumpled the continent like a big tablecloth, which the acute result was the Sierra Nevada mountains, but it's this same process that also formed the Rocky Mountains. And the Andes that he brings up are just a continuation of this chain, the same ones.
Bro, this is too much study. I would open Subway Run. We need Subway servers in the corner. We're too stupid.
that are kind of the Sierras all the way up into Alaska.
Yeah,
it's the result of a piece of oceanic crust slipping beneath the continental crust, crumpling it up to push up
Yeah,
mountains.
that's what I thought. It's like it didn't have to crush into continental thing. It can crush into the oceanic thing and it still works.
And also melting and creating volcanoes along the way. So no, his explanation here of the Earth had to expand and it was that kind of force that pushed mountains up together in the middle, absolutely not. He left a lot of other comments on this video that I'm not going to go through right now. So before we go into just some of the major plot holes I see in this thing, I think there's another important acknowledgement to make about this theory. This entire theory is like a red herring fallacy. It's a theory that's so outlandish and exists by punching down on the current well-supported theory that they try and convince you that you need more evidence to support plate tectonics. While I was doing my research for this video, I was like going deep into like scientific papers to like back up stuff about plate tectonics, and I thought, wait, why the fuck am I doing this? We know that plate tectonics is the mechanism by which the continents and the Earth have been shaped. This is extensively apparent in just about every field of natural science. It's not like one obscure discovery that I'm trying to prove or disprove. So the thing about theories like this is they thrive by being able to try and sow the seeds of doubt around the whole theory so that we have to waste our breath backing up a theory that is in all actuality real. Like, it is very, very extensively well supported. And granted, I'm sure, you know, discoveries in the future will be able to refine the theory for, but it's not going to throw the theory out the window entirely. Take, for example, the continental drift theory.
I mean, it's still a theory. True, it's still a theory. True, it's still a theory at the end of the day.
The continental drift theory wasn't right, but it was on the right track. The modern understanding of plate tectonics that we have is just built on the foundation that the continental drift theory started with. So like, yeah, we'll probably refine it in the future, but we're not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater because we know that the way that the Earth works—
That's such a crazy expression. Throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Actually crazy expression.
is pretty close to how we understand plate tectonics, and maybe there's some room to understand it further in the future. But this theory literally almost tricked me into doing a bunch of fucking research to try and prove plate tectonics when really—
I mean, if it made you try to disprove it, then maybe it's not such a bad theory after all. Hi, weird, pathetic, sad loser. This is gonna be either the funniest chatter ever or someone who will get banned instantly. And I cannot wait to see which type it will be. Oh, and we also have XXL Big Bad Dragon Toy. Welcome. Wow, 2 for 1. 2 for 1, truly. 2 for 1 today.
he should be the one having to prove this fucking theory. People postulating these theories should not be coming to us asking for more evidence. They should be giving us their fucking evidence. And they don't—
Dude, I love how Milo gets one-guyed. Bro, let's be for real. Milo gets so one-guyed by shitty conspiracy theories. That's kind of the appeal of me for watching this video, is to see how one-guyed he gets by some people saying some stupid shit. And now he's getting stuff over. He's like, yeah, wait, why do I have to disprove this? This is stupid. We know this is not right. This is so dumb. Why do I have to disprove this? It's so funny.
Have any. And so the best thing they have to do is to completely muddy the waters by trying to make us have to explain the theory, which is already well supported, in lieu of them actually having to give any evidence. I needed to say that in the middle here because while I was doing this, I was kind of beating myself up like, oh God, am I not doing enough research? I normally do like really well-researched videos that have like, you know, papers backing them up and shit like that. And I'm like, I'm kind of just debunking this with like my knowledge of environmental science and like Earth history that I've gained for the last fucking 8 years of school. And then I realized that that's why. And so in something like this, which is kind of like scientific common knowledge, I'm not going to go out of my way to explain plate tectonics to someone who's talking about how the dogmas of science are trying to— they're too upsetting the apple cart.
That's why I think most like science people just ignore these people because they know.
Google it, okay? Plate tectonics is real. You don't need me to fucking tell you about that, all right? Okay, with that little disclaimer out of the way, let's go into some of the major plot holes with this theory. As I went through this video, I was dumbfounded. He makes a lot of like instigatory comments throughout this, as a lot of conspiracy theorists do, that are supposed to kind of goad the scientific community into trying to waste our breath trying to back up our theory, even though it is actually well supported by extensive evidence. But that made me realize something. Plate tectonics is very well understood and well backed up.
Yeah.
If you look at any topic in geology, natural science, Earth history, you will find evidence of plate tectonics in it. It is like a pretty much planetary law. So I thought that I need to actually take a page out of Neil's book. Instead of trying to convince a general audience of people who already know plate tectonics is real that plate tectonics is real, I should be posing some questions that this theory should have to answer. So that's what we're gonna do. As I said earlier, I am not gonna be able to think of every hole in this theory, but believe me when I say that this is like The Room level bad.
You're tearing me apart!
I am sure
What
that
do you mean? But the room is peak. So now I'm back in believing the Earth is growing, man. Okay.
Watching this video with your friends or fucking, you know, listening to it while you fold your laundry, you've been able to come up with your own things that debunk this without any of my field of expertise.
My main thing is like, first of all, right? How is the matter being created? What's the matter, baby? And why does the matter create? Second of all, where did the water come from? Is it just below? Like, is it just floating on the water? And third of all, why did it only start doing it 7 million years ago? Why? Why only 7 million years ago?
And I implore you to leave the plot holes you find in this theory in the comments, because I think it's going to be absolutely hilarious to see that pretty much everyone, no matter what their discipline or understanding of the world is like, will be able to find something from their field of expertise that debunks this stupid theory. So with that said, here are a few of the plot holes that I found. 1. Why? Why is this happening? Why is the Earth expanding? Which brings me swiftly to the second problem I found with this. How? How is the Earth expanding? I can find no explanation for this. I did find somewhere that this theory kind of blends into hollow Earth theory, that, you know, as the Earth gets, I guess, bigger, it becomes...
Wait, so then the Earth is gonna become skyblock. Because it's hollow, and it's expanding, so it's gonna become skyblock. It's just gonna be some floating pieces that float far away from each other.
Becomes hollow on the inside.
And then we're gonna have to do cobblestone generators, chat.
Or something. I don't really know what the logic is behind that, because in my understanding of, you know, physics, gravity, you know, gets stronger as you get into that middle pit. And I feel like having a giant, like, hollow eggshell with planetational gravitational pull in the middle would be bad. Can you tell that I'm not a physicist or an astronomer? Because I sure can. So I don't know how that works, but you want to explain that? Like, what's going on in the middle?
I actually like it when Milo talks about the things he's not an expert on, because I can actually understand it for once. When he talks about the stuff that is his expertise, like the geology stuff, I'm out.
The planet.
I'm like,
how? Where the fuck is? Why is it expanding? And what's in the middle now? Next question. Where the fuck did the water come from?
Yes, wait, we have the same questions. Where did the water come from?
He says that, like, the Earth was once all just land, and then it expanded out, and the
was it just floating in water? Where's the water?
Where did that come from? Water is like, isn't like 70% of the planet water or something like that? Water is most of the fucking planet. So you're telling me there was a time where all of the land on the planet was combined into one just land ball, and then as it expanded, the water just fucking appeared from somewhere? Like, that wasn't in the Earth. The Earth wasn't big enough to hold all that water. Which brings me swiftly along to the next problem. This theory breaks the first law of thermodynamics. Again, I'm not a physicist, so I swear to God I'm not trying to pull out the, you know, thermodynamics to try and sound, you know, like I'm highfalutin. This is literally just like my armchair understanding of this, that matter cannot be created or destroyed. So what the fuck is happening with Earth then? By what process is the planet itself expanding? That would be one thing if maybe, you know, it's a hollow Earth. The material is being just reconstituted and pushed outwards. But in this theory, he's literally talking about the water just like appearing out of nowhere. And presumably the inside of the planet isn't hollow. It still has like mass to it. He never talks about there not being anything in the planet. So that material has to be coming from
like elephant food foam, I suppose.
Somewhere. So why and how and where the fuck did all the water come from? And how does this even make sense? Also, another thought that I just had. Again, I'm not...
Dude, I think this is how he should structure these videos from now on. Rather than like giving evidence why it's wrong based on things that we all know, just ask them questions.
Someone who does meteorology or, you know, atmospheric stuff, so someone who knows more about this, please elaborate on this in the comments. But wouldn't this, like, completely fuck with the atmospheric pressure on the planet? Like, if the planet was as dense as it is now, but it was consolidated to the size that he says...
I don't want to think about the atmosphere, bro. I'm fine of thinking about the atmosphere. Cobblestone generator is matter creation, only that it's not, because it's the water molecules and the lava molecules merging together. It is literally not matter creation. What is matter creation, however, is a bucket. The only thing that can create matter is a bucket. Because the cobble comes from lava and water. It's like when you burn a paper, you still have the ashes, but it's still the paper.
it was, wouldn't the atmospheric pressure have been like standing at the bottom of the fucking ocean? It's like a tiny, really dense ball with the same amount of atmosphere that the planet has now. Which also brings up the point that is eventually the Earth going to expand so much that the atmosphere just, it's so spread thin that like, you know, you can see the stars in the middle of the day or something, and we're all going to suffocate. I feel like this somehow ties into the thing that he was saying about dinosaurs being really big, but I don't really know what the explanation was there. Maybe like there was more oxygen in the atmosphere.
How does infinite water work? DEBUNKED.
Here so they could get bigger, but that only applies to insects. So I don't really know what the fucking deal was there. Either way, atmosphere. Someone who knows shit about the atmosphere, tell me what would happen if the Earth was this big and then ended up as this big. Because I would hazard a guess it's not good. Okay, another big one. Why don't the stones in the Pacific line up? He makes this big stink about like, and the continents, they all fit really well in the Pacific. They don't. But even if they did, the stone types are different. There's not like a consistent stone that can be found in like, you know, the California coast and like, you know, mainland China and fucking Australia. Whereas with the Americas and Europe and Africa, we have parent material that's shared between them. My dad is a historic preservationist, as I mentioned.
God damn, it runs in the family.
Second shout out in a single video, Dad. Look at you go, you're famous. And in a lot of the buildings he's worked on in New England, they have brownstone, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's this beautiful brown stone. It's a sedimentary rock. They built all kinds of beautiful buildings out of it in New York and in Boston. But this Connecticut brownstone, as it's called, was a finite resource mined in Connecticut, and eventually we completely exhausted it. There's like no Connecticut brownstone left. So in some of the preservation projects that he's done, where he's working with, you know, brownstone pieces, they have to get brownstone imported from like Ireland or Scotland or something like that, because that's like the nearest material that is similar to the Connecticut brownstone, because at one time they were connected to each other. It wasn't that far away. So shit like that, where like we have an example that those continents were connected. We know, we have tons of lines of reasoning to support that they were connected once. Not to mention the fact they look like literal puzzle pieces.
That's so bad, Battle Heart. That's so bad. Stop.
But the Appalachian Mountains span not only through the Appalachian region of the United States, but into the Scottish Highlands, into, you know, Greenland, and into the Little Atlas Mountains in Africa. We don't see that across the Pacific. That is something that would have to be shown, have to be illustrated in order for this theory to exist, and it doesn't. It does not matter how well you can make the little continents and islands fit together over there. If there is no geologic evidence that they were connected, they were not connected. Showing it on a map may be good enough evidence for the "it looks like" crowd, but not for us. Okay, what's next? Oh yeah, why do volcanoes exist? Geologically, there's a few different ways you can get volcanoes.
Yeah, not a question where I don't think he thought that far. I think the surface level questions are better.
You got your subduction zone, or the oceanic crust is slipping.
Because like the thing is, with things in the world, you can just say it is because it is. You know, right? I feel like you can, because there's a lot of wonderful things in the world, and you can just say that they are because they are. Like, for example, narwhals. They exist. Why? I don't know. Why there's a narwhal but no unicorn? Because it is. You know? So I guess with volcanoes, it's another thing where it's just be like, yeah, they exist because they do. It just happened the way the narwhal happened. You know? So I don't think these are I think the better questions to debunk to ask are the more surface level ones.
Beneath the continent. The
where
crust
it's like,
melts.
how did the water create itself? How did the water happen?
And bubbles back up in big gray volcanoes. Then you got your rift, where the crust is peeling apart and magma is able to seep out from the ground. And then you got your hot spot, where there's a mantle plume that's always punching through the crust as the crust moves over it, something like Hawaii. And I'm sure there's some other ones, but again, this is me just showing that I can literally do this off the cuff with my base of knowledge.
Unicorns do exist to rhinos? It was written down by European people. I've never seen a rhino. Okay, but a rhino does not look like a horse, like at all.
Because this theory doesn't have any fucking evidence. So what do all of these different volcanoes have in common with one another? All of them are fundamentally hinged on existing because of plate tectonics.
There is evidence behind it though. The narwhal has its big horn, which is a tooth that works as a sensory organ. You didn't say why it exists though. You just said it does, and this is what it does. But like, why the narwhal? Why the narwhal? Why is it? You know, like, I'm not denying that the horn is a tooth that works as a sensory organ. I'm saying why. Why is it there? Because it does. You know, it developed and now it exists. You know, but you can't really say why. Like, if there was a world where the narwhal never evolved, there wouldn't be much different by the world, would it? But the narwhal simply wouldn't be, and it could just be the narwhal is not a thing. You know? Like, I don't think the world would be that different if the narwhal never evolved. You know, but it is, and it's just there. It's normal. Normal. I don't feel good about narwhals.
The oceanic crust sliding, that's plate
I don't.
tectonics. The rift forming, that's plate tectonics.
I think it's because I thought for the longest time that they were fake. And then when I found out they were real animals, I was actually shocked.
And a hotspot punching through the crust multiple times, that's fucking plate tectonics. So if this guy wants us to believe that the crust of the Earth is just like one solid piece and subduction doesn't...
Piece! Oh, but I guess the One Piece isn't real because he's saying it's not.
happen and there's no such thing as like rifting, then where the fuck do volcanoes come from? Why are there volcanoes? How would that even be explained in this theory?
But why
Another
do
one that I wrote on
narwhals?
here, which I guess he sort of answered in the comment, is how do mountain ranges form? Now, he says that the way mountain ranges form is because, you know, that ball is kind of expanding out and so it like pushes that middle part together, which I'm not gonna lie is a decent...
That's a good thought for the growing Earth. They evolved with the narwhals first small due to help them with sensing things in the water, but got bigger through evolution to it being seen as an attractive part, which made the ones with bigger horns more attractive in the sexual selection, meaning that bigger horns were passed on and evolved to become bigger. Yeah, but why? Yeah, but why did it happen? Like, why the narwhal? Like, you don't understand. You don't understand what I'm saying here. Why the narwhal? I'm not even bothered about the horn of the narwhal. I'm bothered about it as a whole. Because the female's like, hey, but then why did they get it to begin with? You know, why? I feel like if in a world without the narwhal, nothing would change for me. Is that controversial? Is that mean to say? That in a world without the narwhal, I would be happier, actually. I would... Actually, something would change. My happiness levels would increase. In a world without the narwhal, I would just be a happier person.
Explanation if you were a child, but that does absolutely nothing to explain the scale of mountains that we see on this planet. Also, like, the age of mountains, like, the Appalachian Mountains are like the oldest mountain range on Earth. They're like 30 million years old or something like that. They're so old that they've broken apart and drifted. If he's claiming that the Earth's initial expansion is what broke the continents into the way they look now, and they expanded around the planet as it grew, then this mountain range couldn't exist. The Appalachians were created when all of Europe and Africa and the Americas were all combined together. So in his theory, it was done by, you know, the Earth expanding and those things being pushed up in the middle. But then they broke apart. Why the fuck is there an ocean between them now? So even that doesn't make sense. And on the note of mountains, how about, like, I don't know, valleys and folds? I know that other comment mentioned it, but, like, look at, like, I don't...
Yeah, why is it all flat, you know? Dude. Top thing question scientists still can't answer. Why the narwhal?
I don't know. Is it the Allegheny Mountains? Oh wait, not quite. Never mind. I lied.
Okay, guys. I guess it's time for me to come clean. Okay, guys? What I'm about to say is an absolute true fact. Guys. My boyfriend's a narwhal. And he impales me.
Okay, the Appalachian Mountains in, like, central to eastern Pennsylvania. It's the valley and fold region. You can, like, see the way that the Earth was pushed together.
No,
like
it's not meant to be a sexy joke. It's meant to be an abuse joke. Which, granted, it's not much better, but the point of the joke is to be that I hate narwhals because my narwhal boyfriend beats me, but because since he's a narwhal, he impales me.
Fuck boy.
It's not that type of impaling, you pervs! You perverts! No! This is 100% a fact, by the way. This is 100% true fact.
Tablecloth and how the different folds of stone eroded at different paces and left behind these really unusual shapes. How the fuck did that happen in this theory? How is it possible? Why are those there now? Again, this is something which is explained by plate tectonics, by plates pushing together. And on a similar note is that he makes a big stink about the whole shallow sea fossils. How the fuck did the shallow seas get created then? He seems to be okay with admitting that seas must have formed over the continent because, you know, there's fossils and they had to have been pushed back up, but he doesn't give any...
Guys, stop! It's not weird or gross. It's a callback to the joke I made previously in the video where I was like, the guy was like, oh, it's 100% fact. I was like, yeah, you can just say something that's 100% fact. And then I said that and said, yeah, I have a boyfriend who's like 6'5", and a millionaire. So now the implication is that that same guy who is 6'5" and a millionaire is also a narwhal. The joke works because it calls back to something we just experienced together. I don't get it. Well, weird, pathetic, sad loser. I get why you don't get it. Let's just say I understand that you wouldn't get it. Okay? My jokes are for cool people.
Explanation for how that's possible. If we look at like the fossils in, I don't know, the central
I don't
part.
want to fuck fish. I don't. Stop typing in chat. I want to watch the video.
Of North America. Like 100 million years ago, the continent was divided into two pieces. There was Appalachia on the east side and Laramidia on the west side. And in the middle was the Western Interior Seaway. And the reason that seaway formed is actually partly to do with the creation of the Rocky Mountains. There was a ton of pressure coming in from the west, the mountains were being pushed up, and it literally made the middle of the continent push down like this. Imagine you had a really long plank of wood and you're kind of pushing it in, it bows downward. So as that land bowed downward, I explained this all in my Dark Roots series, by the way, which I swear to God will be coming back at some point. But as that downwarping happened, the ocean rushed in through the middle of the continent and created like a few 100-foot deep ocean that existed for, I think it was millions of years in the middle of the continent. And so then when that pressure was released and the ocean was able to, or the continent was able to rebound, it lifted all that ocean sediment back up, it turned to stone, and now we have a bunch of fossils from an ocean in the middle of the continent. You'll notice the important piece of that, though, is the mechanism by which the fucking continent got covered in an ocean. Something which is only explained by plate tectonics.
If it was
a few
a
other
big,
things I'm thinking of.
big orb, it wouldn't be ever submerged. I really still don't understand why he brought that up with the fish as a argument in his favor.
Is earthquake.
Fucking narwhals, am I right, Pipi? Stop. I don't even like narwhals. I hate them. I don't like narwhals.
There's that place in California, I don't remember where it is, but from like the big quake, where you can see like the fence and like, you know, the earth shifted like that, and the fence is like...
Wait, that's so cool.
You know, a few feet apart.
It's because it's shifted.
How would he explain this? This is kind of like the snowball of trying to talk about evolution with someone who's an evolution denier, where like, if you can admit that small changes can happen to a population of organisms, then you also
like for example, the narwhal, which developed its long horn by selectively mating because the female narwhals found it attractive, for example.
Concede the fact that those changes can add up over very long periods of time. This is a perfect example of that. We have evidence that the Earth has shifted that much. Yeah, it's not very much right now in our lifespan, but you have to acknowledge that that mechanism works and has been working for as long as the Earth has existed. So that shit adds up over time. I'm really trying my best to not strawman him here because he doesn't do a good job of conveying his theory, and I'm not sure if he's being intentionally vague or if I'm misunderstanding him. But what he seems to be saying is that the continents themselves have sort of remained the way they always have from when they like broke apart and spread. And yeah, he makes a half-ass attempt to explain mountains, but I don't hear any attempt to explain the shallow sea fossils found all across continents, or why there's mountain ranges of different ages, and you know, mountain ranges that are literally split across different continents with an ocean between them. This theory is just bad. I don't have another way to put it. Like, it's a theory that can only exist by blatantly ignoring an insurmountable amount of evidence that this is just not possible. Correction, maybe it's not that it's not possible, it's that there is no evidence for it. In fact, we have evidence in the contrary. We have evidence that this didn't happen. Every geologic feature on Earth can be explained through plate tectonics. You don't need mountains
to be beautiful. Oh, thank you. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it, bro. I really appreciate it.
From our coastlines to our volcanoes to earthquakes. We know how all of this stuff was done thanks to the work of thousands of diligent scientists over the past 300 years. And it's a shame to have to talk about this theory in this light when we do know as much as we do now. In the late 1800s, when this theory was first pioneered, it was a pretty decent idea. It took into account what evidence we had and tried to make sense of it. But then more evidence came out and it was found to be incorrect. Debunking this theory today is a fucking pigeon shoot because we have 100 and some odd years of ammunition from literally every discipline of science. And as much as I love debunking things, I have to be very wary of these theories because I know that they're supposed to be a tar pit. They're supposed to be something that someone science-oriented, like myself or you watching this video, will stumble across, and then because we're scientists, we will give as much evidence as possible for our
I'm a scientist, Jet. You heard it here
for
first.
our reasoning, for all of the
So
massive
the
evidence that
narwhals,
we have on the
guys.
side of plate tectonics. But they're doing that intentionally because by making us have to explain the thing that we already know to be true, they get a free pass to not have to explain their theory at all.